Well, good evening. Honored and privileged to be able to be before you tonight. And, candidly, I struggled. I really don't know. I didn't have a current topic to kind of discuss and talk about tonight. I say that with tongue in cheek. But I won't go there. I won't take an easy one and talk about recent diagnosis and activities that are going on with me. But I will talk somewhat about the things that have come about that I've reflected upon. And I came across an article, The Difference Between Stubbornness and Determination. So this is a secular article, and it's written by Fritha Fuqua, and states that she recently caught herself saying that she was stubborn, and it was in relation to getting a job done and not wanting to give up before she'd achieved what she had set out to do. And she happens to be a linguist and realize, that's not really what I meant. Stubborn doesn't have the right definition. I'm determined to get that done. And she reflected upon that, and she realized that she really hadn't used the right word in front of her friends, and she realized she was meant to be determined. And so she states, while these two words can be confused, being determined and being stubborn are not the same thing. In fact, they're not even close. She states, while you can be a stubborn person who is also determined, in order to be a truly determined person, you have to let go of being stubborn. That ain't easily done. And I know there's some folks here that are like me and have some stubbornness to them. But when you say you have to let go of being stubborn, that's hard. It's hard in this world, and as I suggest later on, it's hard in our spiritual life for some. Stubbornness indicates a resistance to change. It's a stance of non-negotiating. She stated later on, when someone is determined, they are focused on the end goal and will do whatever it takes to get there. There is flexibility in thinking. Determined people are willing to consider things from all angles. They will do what it takes, irrespective of where that casts the credit. So it got me thinking, and I thought about that in my actions in my daily life, and whether I'm stubborn or whether I'm determined. And there's a lot to be reflected upon and a lot of opportunities for improvement. I think that's the politically correct statement. But when we look at spiritual things, if we look at Bible and we wanted to say, okay, who can we recall that was stubborn in God's word? Pharaoh, stubborn, determined. He knew God. His magician said, we're done. We can't take this any further. So Pharaoh was an example of stubbornness. The nation of Israel, time and time again, had it presented to them, if you obey my commandments, if you follow me, I will be yours. And their stubbornness and self-determination, and I'm not casting a stone or I'm not casting on them because I reflect upon my own self, but over and over again, the Pharisees determined to kill Jesus. This man is ruining our livelihood. This man is ruining our hierarchical system, big word for me, and ruining things in the community and livelihoods, and now everybody's going to join the school, or everybody's going to want to profess to know the word, or everyone, So the Pharisees. Then we have Jonah, which has a good ending, but I think I've been presented and have presented some folks who had a stubborn mindset, determined and regardless, and just torpedoes, full steam ahead. The Bible talks in verses, you'll turn to Deuteronomy 9. Do a couple of readings of verses. I'll be doing it from the New King James. Verse 13 and 14. Furthermore, the Lord spoke to me, saying, I have seen this people, indeed, they are stiff-necked people. Let me alone, that I may destroy them and blot out their name from under heaven, and I will make you a nation mightier and a greater than they. And give the plot of the way, person that I will make you a nation, he's talking to somebody who is determined. We go to Jeremiah 18, verse 12. So in previous verses, the Lord tells them, I am fashioning a disaster and devising a plan against you. In verse 11, return now every one from his evil way and make your way and your doings good. So he's pleading. He's pleading with these folks. In verse 12, their response, that is hopeless. So we'll walk according to our own plans and we will everyone obey the dictates of his evil heart. Stubbornness. So as you can see, stubbornness has caused so much stumbling and so many challenges in our lives. And it's something that I ask that we reflect upon ourselves in regards to our spiritual well-being. When we look at folks that are determined, a great example that was provided was Ruth. Ruth, she had it bad. I mean, lost husband, lost home, traveled to another land, stranger, ostracized, but she made a home and she made it right. She took care of her mother-in-law. She was determined. I mean, I don't know who can read that without weeping. Wherever you go, I go. That's gender, forget it, whether it's male or female. That's just beautiful words and a sentiment and a love to have. Moses, as I mentioned earlier, New Testament, the persistent widow, she was determined to get saving grace and get God to take care of her. Esther, a young lady that had to go before a king who had the authority to put you to death just for approaching, not even say anything, but just for approaching improperly. And she was determined to stand up and represent her people and plead for that opportunity for things to be changed. So those are folks that are determined, and I hope that you can see a huge contrast between those that are stubborn and those that are determined. So something that I have a habit of doing is going, okay, what is at the root of stubbornness? And this isn't from the American Psychological Society, and these aren't, so I'm not clinically providing you, but stubbornness can be a result of a fear of change. I candidly admit I knew that I needed to become a Christian in my 20s when I first got introduced to the gospel. I went months, even years, knowing the truth. And stubbornness kept me from taking action upon that. Grateful, I'm thankful, and I'm here before you, but anything could have changed. Stubbornness, childhood experience. People may become stubborn if they had a controlling or overbearing parent, or if they experienced trauma or other negative events. That can lead to a personality of stubbornness. Insecurities. People may be afraid of receiving feedback, being vulnerable, or admitting to their fears. That's what's so beautiful about our faith. Y'all are safe here, and I've tried to explain that to the young folks. You're safe here. When the young, Davi is leading singing. I was trying not to call out any names. That's nerve-wracking. I remember when the first time I led singing, and I just had a brother said, they've got your back. Just get that first note out there and carry on. This is a place of safe haven, or haven, and so your insecurities you can put away. Goal-oriented. You're focused on goals and you're going there. Disagreeable personality. Hubris. You think you're really good. You know better. Holding on to grudges or an illusion of power. So stubbornness comes from many facets in your life. Getting too far away. Stubbornness comes from many facets in your life, and I want those to reflect upon who have not put the name of Christ on. What is it that is preventing you? Are you determined not to be a Christian, or are you stubborn and don't want to be a Christian? Do you hear the truth, know the truth, and it fights with you inside, and you internally have challenges and issues? For those who are Christians, are you determined to look at the scriptures? I'm telling you what, I'm in my current experiences, my eyes are opened up a whole lot more, and these scriptures have just impacted me so much more, and faith has increased, and I'm blessed for that. Wish I hadn't put my family through this situation, but it's happened. It's occurred. We have a light at the end of the tunnel. But these scriptures are given to us to strengthen us and to build us up and to make us who we are. If you've fallen short and you have been a Christian and you have a tendency to be more stubborn, we're here to pray for you. We will accept and we'll talk with you and we'll encourage you. We will help you prevent those obstacles. So if you haven't put the name of Christ on, are you determined or are you stubborn? If you put the name of Christ on, are you stubborn or are you determined? We have a wonderful opportunity tonight, anytime. There's so many phone numbers available. You call and say, I need to be right. I need to be right now. Some of my best experiences, I've been my filthiest after working in the yard and find out that one of our friends wanted to be baptized. And we all showed up, stinky, sweaty, smelly from a Saturday day of work. But you know what? It was a beautiful, beautiful experience. So I'm here to encourage. I'm here to ask you, please reflect, take the appropriate action, strengthen yourself, and put away stubbornness, and be determined to be a follower of Christ, a leader for Christ, example, and a light for Christ. If there's anyone that has need, we'll ask you to come forward as we stand and sing.